maybe while we're waiting for her, I can read the one comment that was sent to us via email. So there was one comment sent to us via email, and so I wanted to just go ahead and read it. This was from Robert Roit of 17301 Dowden Way, and he asked, please include the following in the May 3rd public hearing. In the notes section at the bottom of page 2, note 5 states funds earmarked to support the proposed grape crush facility. My question is, why in these challenging economic times is the town dedicating funds to a proposed county project? This is a non-governmental project. And then he signs his name and gives his phone number.
Do we want to address that now?
I was thinking we would address everything after we hear all comments, but we can if we can't seem to get anyone else on. What I understand from talking with Wade about this earlier today is that what this resident is referencing is a line item for economic development. That Wade, correct me if I'm wrong, we specifically put the grape crush facility in there as sort of a placeholder, but it's actually for the broader economic development line item.
Yes, it was about 4 years ago that was actually put into the budget, and that note's just been carrying forward, and the money has not been used. So it's, as we talked about this in the work session, that 25,000 has been carried for like 4 or 5 years, and right now it has no place to be. The note is just carried on. That's all.
This is actually funds that haven't been used.
It never came about.
Right. Okay.
Jeff,
Okay. It looks like we have. Sorry. Go ahead.
Jeff, you're still muted. Hit your mic.
Yeah. Thanks, Ed. I got to keep an eye on that blinking light there. So I just have a question about the protocol for budget hearings. Is this something that we respond to questions, or do we just kind of take it in?
So usually we hear all of public comments, and then we can certainly discuss anything that we want to discuss about the budget afterwards. We can address the comments that were made by the public, or we can bring up anything else that we want to.
Okay, well, thank you.
And I see that Maureen has joined us again. Maureen, are you there? Can you unmute, Maureen? There you go. Oh, no, you're still muted.
Maureen, you're muted.
I wonder if she can't hear us.
There we go. Now you hear me?
Great.
Yep.
Okay, we're all
Maureen,
set.
why don't you go ahead and make your public comment now? Thanks for coming.
Okay, well, good evening to you, commissioners. And first of all, I want, on behalf of Historic Medley District, thank you for all the financial and emotional support you have given me and HMD in the past couple of years. And as you remember, the money you've allocated to HMD the past couple of years were used for specific, very necessary repair jobs that we could not have afforded to do on our own. But this year, our needs are dramatically different, as you can imagine from COVID. We had a significant loss of revenue because all of our income, it can come from dues, fundraisers, grants, and biggest raise from the Seneca House bookings. But obviously with the schools closed down, we could not, we had no revenue from bookings. And also weren't able to have any of the fundraisers that we had already planned. So this year, I believe the budget has, I'm looking at it right now, you allocated $10,000 for FY22, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So, and what I'm asking you tonight is, okay, we had last night our first VOD meeting outside in the backyard of the John Poole House. And we're trying to see ways to move forward into the future with, I think we have like $4,000 left in our bank account. I did get from Maryland Historic Areas $4,500 this year and $5,000 from the Montgomery County Arts and Humanities. But that was used exclusively for operating expenses. And that's been mainly spent. So looking now into the future with no immediate means of having any money for fundraisers, we're in a very difficult financial position, which we hadn't been in a number of years. And we did talk last night about, I'm working with Heritage Montgomery and Sarah Rogers for events with them, and also with David Terrio. We've been talking with him a lot about coordinating events with his place and our place. But this is going to take time to evolve. And also here again, we're still waiting to see the path of COVID and what the restrictions are going to be. So my request to you tonight is, I noticed on the budget form, there's an asterisk, and the bottom it said that the funds will be used and the match with repairs at the John Poole House and the Old Town Hall. Actually, we don't have a desperate need right now for repairs. We desperately need the money for just to continue operating. So my question would be, if you could remove the restrictions from that, for we can use the $10,000 as we move forward to try to keep HMD going.
Great, thanks, Maureen. Does anyone want to make any comment about that, or would you like to let our next person in and to make a comment first?
I'd like to ask Maureen a question, if that's okay.
Yeah, go for it.
Maureen, when do you all hope to return to having, you put on some great events, whatever pre-COVID, that were really inclusive of the community and some ghost tours that brought people in from out of town. When do you hope to start doing those again?
Okay, we discussed that a lot last night, and we have had in the past, in the winter, we had speaker series which were very successful, and we're looking at now how, depending upon the restrictions again, how we can hold them. And I don't know if you know that Kenny Scholes has just joined our board, as did Jeff Welsh, and they both bring a lot of expertise in IT matters and also in other means. So we're hoping to get the speaker series back. And also we started last year to have a community picnic. And so I have a call in to David Terrio to see if we can coordinate having a picnic with, in the past, we had fun and games for the children at the John Poole House backyard, and then coordinating it with him with food. So we are trying to, and we're also looking at, we had the very successful ghost tours in the fall, and we think we can do that again. Here again, it depends on COVID, in the backyard, and maybe have a coordinating dinner or drinks, etc., with David's group. So we're trying to, coordinate the both of our activities together and get back to where we were before and try to make ourselves more well-known to the community.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I think I know Maureen, you and I talked about this recently, but I just wanted to reiterate, I think, as we start to move out of this COVID purgatory that we're in, and we start to be able to gather more, it would just be so great to start to utilize that John Poole House more, because now that you have locals right next to you, and it's opened up. People are there all the time, and they look across and they say, whoa, what is that house over there? People just had no idea that it was there. So it's really an opportunity to bring that education.
And I think, Carrie, as you and I talked last week, as far as having docents or people manning the John Poole House during the weekend, say when people are visiting David's restaurant, a number of our board members last night said they'd be more than willing to do that. And also, per your suggestion, I called the Poolesville seniors, and they're going to put it on their Facebook. And the woman I spoke to said she believed there are a number of people who would love to help us out, very interested in history. So
fantastic.
We're getting, more avenues. And also, I think I emailed the board this morning because I wanted to tell them how pleased I was last night after, not really getting together for over a year. I was just fantastically impressed by the sense of revitalization of trying to work with HMD and to soldier on in the future, wherever it takes. So I'm terribly pleased that we're going to be able to weather this, and any help, financial help from the town would be helpful in letting us carry forward.
That's great. That's great to hear. You've got a great board over there too. So
yes, we do.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the mantra for all of us. We're all trying to soldier on here. So
right.
Yeah. All right. Well, unless anyone has any other questions for Maureen tonight, I think we will go to our next person who has some comments. Thanks for joining us, Maureen.
Thank you. Thank you, commissioners.
Being here, Maureen.
Okay, good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
We have one more person with us, right, Bobby? Bobby's still afraid to unmute. I don't blame her.
I invited Tom in, but I don't see him.
Oh,
Yeah,
there he is.
he's connected.
I think you still need to exit Maureen though. So if you click on the three little dots on her screen, you should be able to exit her. I forgot what it's called.
Remove.
Remove. There you go. Yeah, that doesn't have the greatest sound to it. But yeah. Hi, Tom. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Tom, don't forget to unmute.
Tom, if you want to go ahead and unmute, you can give us your public comment about the budget.
And be sure your YouTube is muted, Tom, if you're watching.
Ask him to unmute.
Tom, you see that little symbol as a microphone down at the corner? Just click on that so that red line across the microphone goes away. There we go.
There.
Hey, Tom. Tom, can you hear us?
Is he frozen?
It looks like it.
Oh, no.
No.
Oh, no. There he is.
Tom, if you could hear us, say something.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You're up, Tom. Go ahead and make your public comment.
Okay. Yeah, I was on the YouTube, so it's multitasking. Good evening. Thanks for having me. Tom Kettler, 10613 Hunters Chase Lane, Damascus, Maryland. Also Vice President Kettler Four Lines Homes. Just commenting on the draft budget. So I had just two or three things. I'm actually wearing multiple hats tonight, so I'll try to go through the different hats I'm wearing. One is first one in my capacity with Kettler Four Lines, referencing page 8 under restricted funds that you're going to be getting. I've noticed under the Kettler proffer, and this is 475.4. I'm sure Wade can take notes on all this good stuff. There was zero budgeted last year, and they're estimated 20,000 income for this year. Next year, just for purposes of your planning, we would anticipate we'd be wrapping up our permits out there, wrapping up construction, hopefully during FY22, and that would mean that another 13,000 $500 would be coming in. That represents our proffer of 1,350 times 10 homes. So I don't know. I mean, maybe you just, you can't guarantee that money's going to come in, but I just figured I'd let you know that that's, what we anticipate. So I figured I'd give you that information because I know you're trying to put a lot of numbers together. Sorry, let me turn that off. So that's first item. Second item, sort of wearing my hat as a board member of the Historic Medley District, and also as a past president of Heritage of Montgomery. Page number 10, you have a line item of 590, which represents a $30,000 outlay for a grant consultant. And I just wanted to speak in favor of that and say that I think that's a very smart thing for the town to do. For those of you who have followed the town over the years, the town has been very fortunate when it's been able to go after grants to get a lot of money from different sources. And I'll point to when I was president of Heritage Montgomery, the town went after a $100,000 grant for the band shell at Whaling Commons. And that was something I know Wade worked very hard on, and that money came in. So I think it's well worth the investment of whether you have a consultant or however it's done, or whether it's done through a staff person that you fund, however. But I think it's something important to include in the budget. So I'm supportive of that. And then switching gears to a third hat, as I say, I'm wearing multiple hats. Cut me off if I go too long. As chamber, I'm back on the chamber board, as you may or may not know. I've been president of Chamber of Commerce, Poolsville Area Chamber of Commerce, about 20 years ago. I came back on the board last year to help them out to do some stuff. And one of the items, two items that are on the budget, one on page 14 having to do with the master plan rewrite. It's item 1305. You got $50,000 allocated for this current year and $50,000 for next year. Again, I think that's a very important, and I'm speaking in favor of that, saying that I think it's very important for the town to get help getting that process done. I've watched 3 or 4 master plans that have been done by the town over the years, and it's a pretty arduous process. And I think it's helpful to get some outside consultants to figure out exactly what's going on, and to get to get advice from how other towns have done it. I mean, the master plan sets the table for the town, as you all know, for the next 6 to 10 years. And I think you're at a sort of a critical point right now that it's important time to look at that and see what the future is relative to the master plan in the future, how the town's going to develop over the next 5 or 10 years. And lastly, I want to speak in favor. I know Carrie mentioned earlier at the meeting, the canal towns that you all have been involved with. I think that's a good thing, again, from a Chamber of Commerce standpoint. I think it's a good thing that the town has joined that, and I'm supportive of that. And I'd like to speak on behalf of the chamber to say, I think I personally in the chamber would like to work with the town to try to move that forward, because I think there are a lot of opportunities for the town from an economic development standpoint to work with the folks at canal towns and try to capture some of that traffic that's up and down, all the folks that go up and down the C&O Canal, and let them know that Poolsville's not that far away. So with that, I appreciate your time for comments. I'm sorry I was sort of jumping all over the map, but I just figured I'd cover everything I could think of. And appreciate your time and appreciate all the work you all do. Thank you very much.
Thanks for being here, Tom. You covered a lot of ground in your few minutes.
Yeah, right.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Tom.
All right, thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
Well, I just wanted to mention that I'm in favor of basically doing what Maureen was asking, which was sort of eliminating the asterisks for specific projects in terms of HMD funding.
I agree with you, Carrie. I think that sounds like a reasonable thing. It's been a weird year. And I know I've made this case in the past. I don't know if Ed and Jeff have had the pleasure of hearing it, but I think, for a number of years, HMD was dormant and wasn't doing anything. And then prior to COVID, the year or two before that, they ramped up their stuff. They were doing all kinds of events, drawing people in from out of town.
Yes.
You know, I went to I told the story before, but Ed and Jeff haven't heard it, but I went to a ghost tour one time and I asked people to raise their hands how many of them were from out of town, and I think 30% of them were from out of town, and like some of them asked me where they could go eat. So I think it's important to support them, because I think they're doing good things for the community. Those are my thoughts on that.
Does anybody know why the asterisk was there?
I think they had specifically asked, I think when they made their proposal for the funding, they had specifically asked for it to be allocated for those certain
Might have
things,
been a
if I'm
roll-up.
remembering.
So when it initially came around, about 3 years ago, I think it was, there was a lump sum that went to operations and a grant for some special needs right then that were immediate. And then there was built in a $30,000 allotment, $10,000 per year. This was in 2019, I believe. And it was supposed to go towards matching funds. And that's how the commissioners voted that they would give one lump sum, and then they would spread $30,000 out over 3 other years for it to be allocated each year with as a matching fund. And that's what the note talks about.
So it's Wade, thank you. That's a great input and insight on why it's there. But is it okay for us now to take the asterisks away? Do we have to undo something that was done in
Basically, you could just,
2019?
as changes always happen in all the budgets, and budget amendments happen, and that's all this is going to be. So if you guys, you take a vote on it, whatever you want to, we can change the budget. Once you adopt the budget, that's the new truth.
Okay, thanks.
So I guess I'll make a motion that we make that change per eliminating the specific allocation and instead leave that allocation for operational costs.
I'll second that.
Thanks. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Great. Looks like motion carries. Thank you. Is there any other comments that anyone wanted to make about anything Tom said or
I think
anything else?
I think it's fair that we address the first person's question about the grape crush facility.
Sure.
You know, and I'll the way I see it, I mean, I understand why somebody would be concerned about that, because you know, these are strange times and everything. But if I'm understanding things correctly, we haven't suffered as much as some places have with COVID, and our revenues are going to be strong. And the grape crush facility is also tied into economic development. Again, like trying to get people from out of town to come through Poolsville and stop here. Way back when, the guy from the grape crush facility, the guy, was it Keith? Is that his name, from the grape crush facility?
Yeah.
He committed to us that he would be willing to put a sign that said, you know, turn here to get to the grape crush facility, on partnership. So they'd have to go through Poolsville rather than sending them out, you know, to West Willard Road.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, that's just probably another little small piece in the puzzle of trying to get people here and, you know, spend it.
It's also was put in place because we needed to show the potential for commitment from the town towards some sort of contribution to the success of the grape crush facility.
Yep.
It's as you guys know, it's a, you know, 10, 12, $15 million project, and it's definitely going to benefit the town. So it was a classic skin in the game move, and we may never have to spend the money and we may never have to do anything with it, but we needed a placeholder for it. So, and with any luck, Martin, as you said, we'll get, if it does, assuming it does happen, and I did speak to Keith Miller recently, he says it's happening, then we will have the opportunity to co-brand and work with the state and the county on it.
So
That's why the money's there.
But the idea with the money was kind of marketing Poolsville in conjunction with the grape crush facility.
You know, it was not to really determine how it would be used. It said it was to be, lack of a better term, it was a skin in the game thing. It was to show that Poolsville was also that knew there was going to be positive economic impact for Poolsville. And so that we needed to show that we potentially could contribute in some way, shape, or form, but no money has formally been obligated or created or allocated.
Okay.
Could that money that's a placeholder be reallocated if there's another, say, group where we need to put some skin in the game for economic development?
again, it could be, it
Yeah.
could always be amended, like Wade was talking about.
And that was part of the discussion when it initially happened was, because I think it was a 4-1 vote actually to put the money in the restricted account and just hold it there. And they wanted to make sure that if it was going to be allocated to a project, they would take another vote on it to officially do it. So yes, it can be changed.
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
pretty
so
good
I
if you
I would
remember
I would
that.
advocate we leave that be. I just wanted to touch on it it's only fair to the resident to explain our thinking, I think.
I agree with
But I
it.
think that could have been easily misinterpreted that somehow we were going to contribute towards the construction of a building or something that's outside of Poolsville. So I certainly understand the input from the resident, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a good question. Is there any other questions or comments about the budget?
You just need to close the public hearing.
Okay, so
Well,
is there
just
a
maybe,
motion to close? Jeff, are you making a motion to close?
I just wanted to ask a quick novice question. What's the next step on the budget?
So as of right now, I'll make the adjustments that we just talked about, that one. And it just goes, if we have 2 weeks to be able to pass it. So the next meeting on the 17th, it'll be up for adoption at that point.
Okay, thanks, Wade.
Very good.
So this time we just need someone to make a motion to close the public hearing.
I make a motion, we close the public hearing for the budget.
Second,
Thank
Jeff.
you, Jeff. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks to everyone who made comments. Next on our agenda is our commissioner committee reports. I spoke a lot last time, so I will I will say mum's the word this time. Martin, how about you?
I will be brief. The planning commission is getting ready to meet here. I think it's next Wednesday. And we will have a pretty full agenda, it sounds like, so I'll have more to report to you at our next meeting.
Thank you. Ed.
Yeah, all right. So I know everyone is going to be excited about our new addition to our Sustainable Poolsville board with Marie. And then in terms of next month, the month of June, we voted just to hold off on that meeting, and then we'll pick back up in July.
Okay, great. Thanks. And Jim.
So, I've just actually emailed everybody our agenda for our next Fair Access Committee meeting, which is this Thursday. And on the agenda, we're going to be, we assigned actually some good conversation points about activities of the Boundary Commission, talking about our overall boundaries for the school cluster. We'll have a briefing by Andrew Friedson about the county's politics coming up. So that's going to be an interesting contribution that night. We've also talked about the budget process. We're going to talk about the budget process and the Montgomery County Council. Again, we've got a pretty critical vote, obviously, coming up for our new school. We're going to just talk about the actual process itself, and then what kind of advocacy activities are going to take place surrounding that vote. We're going to set up a meeting with the interim superintendent. We're going to talk about how the format of that meeting will go. We hear that there's a possible chance that could be a good candidate for the long-term permanent position. We have a wellness center white paper that we've prepared, and the wellness center white paper is interesting. It talks specifically about what it takes to bring wellness, create the right scenario to have wellness be a bigger part of how we take care of our residents up here. Talking about, like, will there be something that'll happen with Poolsville High School that will include a wellness center? How about something that's potentially outside of Poolsville High School? Today, for instance, Link and I interviewed a healthcare provider that does essentially pop-ups, also operates bricks and mortar facilities. So we want to learn more about them and what they can bring to our table. And today was, we had about a half an hour long Zoom with a company that provides just that. So that could be somebody that we could have a public-private partnership with potentially. So we have several of those interviews set up over the next couple of weeks. We're going to talk about the groundbreaking facility potentially for Poolsville High School. Once the vote gets done, we're going to start working on how we can make that the right kind of event for in conjunction with the town and for Poolsville High School. Same thing for our Poolsville Day Committee. We're going to have an update on our morning breakfast that we plan on having at this next upcoming Poolsville Day. As we all know, there was one a couple of years ago. It was highly successful. We got a hold of every single major politician. Of course, they were all running for office, so that was perfect timing. And it was a great opportunity to get fair access off to a great start. Finally, last but not least, we're going to have a budget. We've already submitted our budget for FY22, and we have an overall vision paper that has been circulated to all the commissioners. I know email has been up and down, so if you don't have a copy of it, let me know and I'll make sure that you get it. Last but not least, we're going to have a discussion about our letter to the Washington Post that went out earlier. It was actually published on Friday, and we kind of jumped the gun on that. Link has probably talked to each one of you guys individually about it, but we're going to make sure that we have the right involvement for our committee in terms of if we do put something out in public, that it gets vetted by everybody. Really didn't have a chance to do it on this one, but if you're looking it up, it's everybody's gotten a copy of it. If anybody's out there is listening in TV land or YouTube land right now, if you want to hit me up, you'll see what we sent to both the commissioners, our delegates, et cetera, as well as what we submitted to be put into the Washington Post. They put in a truncated version of it, kind of lost a little bit of the magic. But anyway, if you need it and you're out there, just send me an email and I'll send it to you directly. That's where we are.
Great, thank you. And Jeff.
Yes, well, my report will be brief. We are meeting, the Parks Board is meeting on Wednesday at 6:30, and we're going to meet in person, of course, with our masks and socially distanced at the skate park and talk about the plans for I guess it's the resurfacing or the repainting of the skate park that has been kind of in the planning works, let's say, for, gosh, almost a year maybe. And some of the younger residents in the town of Poolsville put together a very good plan and ideas in terms of, what kind of mural or motif might the skate park take in terms of its resurfacing and repainting. And also Preston had some clever ideas as well in terms of what the new design might look like for the paint job. Yeah, so that's it. I'll have more to tell after that meeting on Wednesday at 6:30 at the skate park. Thanks.
Are you gonna yell at those kids to pick up their trash, Jeff? while you're meeting?
That's a good idea, isn't it?
Hey, you guys.
Yeah.
There you go. That's a neat idea, though, to meet out in the field. I was just talking with Wade the other day about oftentimes, or maybe it's just an annual thing, the Parks Board will kind of take a tour of all the parks and, sort of make notes about things that are going well and maybe could be changed, ideas that might come forth, just taking a little walk around to all of them.
Yeah, I recently had a request from the Poolsville seniors, just a little bit off the topic, but still on the topic of the parks. And the Poolsville seniors want to highlight the Poolsville parks in their newsletter. And so they were asking for up-to-date information, descriptions, and amenities for each of the parks. So I kind of leaned a little bit on Wade and Preston and to hopefully maybe put that together. And someone also commented to me that the information on the town of Poolsville website regarding the parks might not be quite up to date. So I don't know if someone could take a look at that. I sent an email, like I said, so hopefully someone will follow through and get the information to the Poolsville seniors. Thanks.
That might be neat to, if you do end up having a pretty comprehensive list of amenities offered at all of the parks, that might be kind of neat to put up on our own site.
Oh, absolutely. Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. That's where it belongs. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. Okay. So now we are on to approval of the minutes from April 19th, 2021. Did anyone get a chance to read them? Are there any comments or questions about them? If not, would anyone like to make a motion to?
Jeff, motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you. In a second.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
I do have one question. When do we decide when the public record is going to be closed for the budget hearing? When do we close that off? The time for residents to make comments?
I believe we already closed it.
Yeah, I was under the impression it was
Just today.
Well, it can't be if we just had a public hearing. So is that shut down? Are we Wade, Bobby, anybody?
So since the COVID thing, you guys started doing it a little bit differently. The record was actually open and comments had to be in prior to the public hearing rather than after. So when she closed it, she actually officially closed it. Yes.
Okay. That is different. Okay.
Well, is it different in a good way or a bad way? Because you have kind of a look on your face.
Me? It's
Yes.
just different. It's different because it's different than how we've done it for many, 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 many years. So I'm convinced that we've gotten all the public comments we're probably going to get. So that's probably good enough.
Oh, okay. All right.
If any more come in, I'm sure Bobby will get them to you guys.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Now we're on to public comment. Do we have anyone here for general public comment?
No.
And so then we are on to old business, the water tower decal. What
We
needs
can't
to
do an
happen?
RFP until you all decide what you want on the tower. I sent you the samples that you had before.
So what is the process here, Bobby?
It'll
We
be
need to
Poolsville on the front. Do you want anything on the high school side?
So on one side, it's staying as is.
Right.
Just repainted.
Yes.
Okay.
And do you want something on the backside towards the high school?
I wonder if we're able to share the screen of the decals.
I don't know how everybody feels, but if we're gonna put something on the backside, I'm in favor of just something simple like I don't know if you're looking at Bobby's email, but the bottom left, there's just a simple P with the black and gold color or something like that.
I definitely prefer something that's simple as well, not something so elaborate. I think some of the submissions were really clever and they look great on paper, but I'm not sure how they would translate into a water tower, because it's obviously distant, it's way up high. So yeah, I definitely favor something that's very clear and simple and with the P on it. But there was something about the particular font of the P that we had to take care about for the Purdue University, I think it was. So was there a different font selected?
Not that I know of. This is all I had.
Oh, okay. If I remember right, we had to be careful about how the P looked because it was, it was too close to the someone else's university logo.
I'll check with John.
But we'll definitely take a look at it. But really, that's the tail wagging the dog to talk about the decal, rather than the tank itself. $350,000 to paint the tank, and it's going to be, $15,000 to put a decal. Not decal, it's actually painted.
Okay.
But we can have an individual price for it too, so you can see a variance of what the different costs will be for different colorations and stuff.
Yeah. Well, do you need some approval to go ahead and spend the money? Is that why you're asking him? Is that
No. John should be already putting this RFP together because we need to have it out and be prepared to do it this summer.
Okay.
He said he wanted what decal they wanted, so he could put it in the RFP.
Yeah, he could leave it a little open.
Staff likes.
I like the P.
So
Yeah, I definitely like the P. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm looking at the Purdue logo now, per Jeff's concern, and it does look an awful lot like maybe even.
It might be the same. Like I brought it up the last time we talked about it. I was the one who brought it up. is that we don't want to put ourselves in a situation where someone comes after
Right.
because of that. Because I mean, it's happened. I know it's happened to other schools where they have a logo or a that's similar to a team or a college.
It's really similar. It might
even be the same one.
In the past, we've used the same one, period.
Yeah.
Oh, we have,
Sorry.
even though it was similar to Purdue?
We use their exact logoing.
No kidding. Oh. Oh, no
So
wonder it looks the same.
So it's probably we've been flying under the radar for quite some time with that. It's probably best not to tweak them on it.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we ask somebody to look for a similar but different font?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, because I think we're all sort of leaning towards the simplistic.
Yeah, I think it's simple, cost less, and simple. You want simple elegance.
That was at the, that was
a great price.
But no copyright infringement.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Oh goodness.
So is that enough direction, Bobby?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I was in Germantown the other day and I saw a person with the hat on it, the hat and the P. And so I went up to the person. I said, "Oh, you're from Poolsville. Hi." And she looked at me like, "Poolsville? Never heard of Poolsville."
Where's that?
Said, "What's the P on your hat for?" "Oh, Purdue University." I go,
Uh-oh.
"Oh, okay."
Okay, so now we're on to new business. Our big topic, our sort of three topic in one, the organizational assessment, our town manager search, and the RFP for HR. And I guess I'll start out with the organizational assessment. I don't know if there's an appetite for discussing it further. This is something that I brought up a couple of meetings ago and gave a little bit of a presentation on in terms of how Poolsville does seem to well, we just have less staff for the similar size town and similar budget. We do a lot with a little, and you know, my thought was maybe it's time. It's an opportunity that we have right now to really assess and have someone else outside looking in. So I guess I'm wondering if there's any appetite for this at all. Maybe if there is, maybe it's something to happen a little bit later. Maybe, and I'll direct this at, Bobby and Wade too. What anyone's thoughts are with this. Is this something that we don't want to discuss at the moment, or?
I have thoughts on it.
Mm-hmm.
I personally, I think I've said this before, but I think I agree with, Kevin Schramm wrote a letter to us, and that was one of the things he suggested. I think it's a really good suggestion. It seems to me, you could do it after a new town manager is hired, but it seems to me like it could help us in the process of hiring a town manager. If someone comes in and says, the town manager job might be more appropriate for 2 people, or you might want to break it down this way or that way, we'll have a better idea of what we're looking for in those 2 people, if it were 2 people. And I suspect that Wade was doing the job of 2 people probably. So I sense there's not an appetite for that here, but I personally think that a staff assessment done, before the hiring process or, started right away would be something that would be advantageous to Poolsville.
Wade, what are your thoughts on this?
Similar to our discussion we had, to help me develop this RFP was to go ahead and set the framework up so you don't have the same thing occur that happened with the past town manager.
Right.
And I think having that framework, because things are different. I mean, I was there for a long time, 17 years in that position. And I was able to just juggle everything because everything kind of happened and it grew when I was in the position. It's a whole different game now, trying to bring somebody in, and the assessment would really, it helped you look inward much better and to build a better framework. So for you to build success for this new person coming in. And I really feel that.
Well, maybe we could, unless anyone has any other comments about this, maybe Ed, did you have something you want to?
Wait, are you saying assessment prior or after?
I think prior to. I mean, you could begin the search at the same time too. I'm not sure how long the assessment's going to take. I mean, that's part of the RFP, if they have to give a schedule of how things can be done. But yeah, it can work probably in parallel.
And let me be clear, I am all for doing them concurrently. Like I think that we don't hold the search up for the assessment. I think they can be done, simultaneously. And then I think that the search needs to get on, and we need to move that, expedite that if we can.
When you say search, you mean a search for
A new town
both
manager.
the new town manager and for this HR piece?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But
I would support that as well. I think
the sooner the better.
Yeah, I think we can do two. Well, I guess probably Wade and Bob, you're going to do the two things at once, but not so much me. But yeah, I would definitely be in favor of
Parallel.
Wade's document on looking for an HR firm. I think is excellent. So I would encourage progress on that, and certainly progress on the town manager search.
Yeah, and I think if you get the framework from the HR person, it doesn't mean you're going to implement the framework. I think you're going to give the new town manager, this is what we can do. This is what this consultant company has given to us. And he gets to implement it, hire the person and see if he agrees with it. I don't think that, you're not going to hire and get all the pieces in place and then bring him in on top of it. I think it happens all kind of together.
Yeah, but I want to mention, because I got some, I hope maybe the emails were sent to all the commissioners. I think they were, but I know I received 2 emails, probably from Bobby, via town hall. And both of the emails had a contrary opinion, right? They thought it was the purview of the town manager to select an HR company and do all that. So, I want to mention that because, they had valid concerns about it as well. Yeah. So I just want to make sure everyone remembers those 2 inputs.
Well, Wade, do you want to actually go through your RFP a little bit?
Sure. Well, the main thing is broken down into 3 different types of service requests. And I know that another resident did voice concerns about one HR company doing all types of the services requested. And the services requested would be just to have a basic assessment of all our policies, procedures, benefits package, all that stuff right now. And I think that's probably a good idea no matter what. Okay. And I think we all concurred with that at our last meeting. The second service request, and that would actually is an ongoing relationship as updates, regulatory compliance, all that type of things go on as we're moving forward. The second one would be to assist town staff and the commissioners in recruiting. And I guess we need to define exactly to what level that's going to be. I mean, they're going to help maybe place some ads, and they could probably do some of the initial interviews, some of the task of bringing them on board. But I don't see them wholeheartedly like a headhunter, more of an assistance to the town in moving forward.
That was my impression when we talked about it last time, because I read those correspondence that came in from the 2 people. And so about if you had a consultant firm that you could possibly have maybe a conflict of interest, if you have the HR firm that's also acting as a headhunter. But I was under the impression that we're looking for someone who could come in and assist in some of the nuts and bolts pieces. And then they would help place ads and help do background checks,
Exactly.
Those kinds of things. But then it would be upon us as a team to really screen through after those preliminary things are done to see who would be the best candidate. And then using the feedback that we get from the consultant who we might keep an ongoing relationship with to help with some onboarding. And I think that after we have a town manager, then that town manager helps to implement and design and make a stronger framework so that that they can have some ownership of the whole piece that's coming in versus coming in where we design everything so tight that that town manager doesn't have flexibility to see things that we might not see.
Exactly. And that's what I tried to reflect in this RFP, that it was exactly in that format that it's kind of laid out to see what's out there.
Okay. That was my thinking.
Now, the only thing, one of the comments was there are some companies that are very well versed in one part of it and not the other. There are a lot of companies out there. I think the smaller companies probably are, specialized in certain assessments, some specialized in headhunting, but there's a lot of companies out there that are larger that do both. I could certainly just kind of tweak this RFP to allow companies to bid on a portion of the three or all three if they want to. Then we have a full spectrum of things to look at.
Not a bad idea. Because I'll go back a little bit too, just because when I think about headhunters, I know headhunters are looking for a certain percentage of the first year salary.
Oh, yeah.
When I think about a consultant that's coming in to look at your organization and help perform some of your basic HR pieces, there's an understanding that they're not getting a commission or on the percentage of the first year salary. All right. Because if that was the case, then yeah, there could be some serious conflicts of interest because they set it up to stack the deck in their favor. But if the person's coming in at that HR consultant, like kind of just like how we have Jay, or where we have you, Wade, or we have, John that comes through, they represent a specialty within that industry. And so a person who specializes, or a consulting firm that specializes in what we need, I think that would be advantageous. But I do understand where I do understand the concerns that were raised.
Jeff, just to let you know, I did reach out to that one resident who that Ed was just referencing, who had the concerns about sort of the conflict of interest. In fact, we have a call scheduled for tomorrow morning. So.
Oh, okay, excellent. Thanks.
So,
You trying to say something?
Yeah, you're muted.
Yeah. Is it possible to do some sort of a modified version of what Ed's talking about, and I think what Wade's talking about too, where I think my biggest concern is do we have the structure to put out a true classified search for a town manager? I'm okay with interviewing a HR company to potentially supply HR services relating to the hiring of the town manager, and knowing that if we establish a relationship with an HR company that may later on help us with framework, but I'd like to see us hire a town manager and bring their level of expertise in, and then have them cooperatively put together a framework with an HR company, one that they may be familiar with, or one that we may end up searching and finding out. I think my biggest concern is, how do we hire a town manager and make that decision on how we're hiring a town manager?
And I think that's a good point, Jim. I think we need an HR company. If we're not going to get a headhunter, we need an HR company to help us with that. I think I said this in the last meeting. I don't think it's fair to say, here's 10 candidates, everyone call 2 of them, because we all have our own bias. Like, I might, somebody that you love, Jim, I might say, oh, this guy didn't seem great. I think you need a neutral party to call everybody, set up the interviews, do the background checks, like do all that kind of legwork. I think needs to be done by someone who's neutral, who doesn't have any kind of a stake in the game or anything like that. And, that's why I think we need the HR company.
Is that an HR company though, or is that a recruiter?
I don't know. That's a way.
I think an HR company is fee based, and I think a recruiter says, $25,000,
right?
Non-refundable.
HR firms can go both ways.
And that was my next question for Wade, is like, what do we have any idea? Like, we know how much a headhunter recruiter costs. Like we went through that, but I suspect that an HR company is, maybe they're going to be a little less, but I'm sure they're not going to do it for free. I'm sure that, like it's a lot of legwork.
No. So as you do your task, it's broken down in how many hours it's going to be. Basically, the consultants, I've looked at a lot of different fee schedules and how they're set up, and it's based on the task and how long they anticipate the task to take. And it all depends on how much staff's going to be involved with it. Like I would see Jay and I probably looking at these resumes that come in, go through them with the HR person in the same manner that, we kind of did the first time. I worked with the headhunter and went through some of the resumes with them.
Does anybody on this board have a stomach for creating some sort of town resident group that would help with this process? Only because it seems like kind of a returning theme has been that we have HR professionals in this town, and we also have people that have hired people and know how to hire people. Is that something that we think we could put together here that would be helpful? Doesn't it? It could be alongside an HR company. I just don't want it to be. I think Martin and I agree with you. I think the five of us, do what we do, but potentially more input, more structured input could help us make the right decision.
Jim, are you thinking about a community review board of people who might specialize in that skill?
Yeah, potentially. I mean, there's a lot of people have spoken up and said that they would be interested in helping out with that. Mm-hmm. And
I know some.
And this is just one. It's a super important part of what's on our plate, but we still have other things on our plates. And if we were to be able to have a group that could help focus and use their skills that also know Poolsville, I think that potentially we might be able to get to, really be able to draw out some good candidates. I just don't know how to work them into the vetting process either.
I wonder, Wade, is that maybe a piece of what an outside agency would do, kind of incorporate expertise that we may, have within our own community? Because I think it's a good idea. We have people who have lots of expertise, and if they want to volunteer, their time, maybe that can be part of the equation.
It might be able to. I'm not that familiar with that type of activity, so I can't give you a straight answer on that.
I still think I think resident inputs is always a really good thing, but I still worry that it seems like an outside party who doesn't have any kind of stake in Poolsville might be the best person to sort of vet the initial candidates and bring them in.
I don't necessarily mind that, but I think that having it fall on our 5 sets of shoulders to make the right decision on this, when we do have a really diverse and I think the people that would rise to the top would be the people that really be interested in helping, probably have some level of expertise on this. I'm just putting it out there because I just feel like on our last hiring go around, regardless of how it turned out, it felt like we were pretty quickly outgunned on the candidates, despite hiring a professional company to those candidates for us. And I just don't know. I just think that if we have people that do this, I've had many people approach me. I do HR. This is something I could help with. Martin, I'm with you that maybe an outside for just the HR portion could give us new insight. I'm just worried again. I'm going to keep going back to the hiring of the town manager, the vetting of the candidates, the creation of the candidate train. How do we put that together?
What do you think about something? Because I hear what you're saying. I agree with you. It's something like you take the first level, and that first level, Martin, is what you're talking about. Then once that you think about the pipeline, so that a group of people go through that first pipeline, that initial screening. Once those candidates have moved forward from an initial screening, then you have a citizen, a town of Poolsville citizen town manager review board or candidate review board, something like that.
Committee,
right? And then you have maybe about 3 or 5, maybe no more than 5. We go through, make sure we vet those who go on there. They have to have some type of demonstrated, verifiable HR experience. And then they're in a position to give us feedback to make a recommendation as we move forward. And so now getting a recommendation from that group would be helpful to us as commissioners, because we have some other people who can lay eyes on it through the lens of their expertise and then tell us why or why not they think this would be a good candidate.
I mean, I'd be all in favor of that. And I think we could say calling all HR professionals in town, you get a chance to help out and have that be part of the process.
My only concern was that, that when someone's calling and checking references and asking background questions and all that stuff, that, that should be a neutral party. But I think that if we set up a board that reviewed it, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I mean, the more
I'm in favor of somebody else checking the background and going through that aspect of it. I don't, that doesn't have to be, that's, we're not paid. Those committee members won't be paid. That's kind of like a paid job to go through that process.
But they have the lens of their expertise is helpful. Martin, I know what I've done in hiring pieces is that there's an HR department that will advance names, because sometimes you put a position out and you get a lot of people who want it, but you don't have time to vet all of that. So you say, okay, who's been recommended? Now let me look at the pool of people who've been recommended. And those are the ones that get invited. But now if we do this, I think we need to move on it very fast. I mean, because we don't want so much time to go by that we're dragging our feet.
Do we have to go through the RFP process for an HR company to help create this vetting, this initial, putting it out there and vetting? Because I'm not sure how long. I mean, Wade, you could probably weigh in, but how long for the RFP process from say we approve it tonight, we put the word out there. What is that, a few weeks or a month before we get that sorted? And then we have to go work with them on the hiring process.
That's exactly right.
Well, I'm kind of thinking of this in two different pieces. I think we could get like Jim suggested, a group of local citizens who have knowledge in HR area and kind of get them to help with the I don't know, the interviewing process, or for lack of knowing what they'll do, but for the interviewing process. But I think so that would help us move along with the town manager hiring, because we need to get that going. But the thing that Wade should be looking at, I believe that we need some kind of outsourced HR thing that comes in and does an audit of our policies and figure out what we have and what we're missing. That stuff is I see that as a separate column than hiring the town manager and getting citizen input on helping with that. So I don't know. I think Wade should proceed with his RFP, but I don't think that should be a checkpoint in proceeding with getting the citizen group together and proceeding with the hiring of the town manager. I see this as two columns. Yeah.
If I'm understanding Jim correctly, what he's saying is that if we're going to have an HR company that's going to help us in this process, we're going to need them engaged sooner rather than later for the hiring process. And that an RFP could be, cumbersome and bureaucratic and take time.
Couple months.
We don't have a lot of time.
Yeah. So I completely agree with that statement, Martin, and what Jim was cautioning against is that we don't have to wait until all this stuff is done in order to get started. I think there's a tornado warning.
So
there's a tornado.
Let me just make sure that we're on the same page here. We do not. It sounds like we've decided not to use a recruiter, a headhunter, whatever you want to call it, and we're going to try to do it more in-house with help from an HR company. Is that right?
No,
I would prefer that if we could do it that way. I am against hiring a staffing company to do this again. It's the pitfalls of it to me are, I know they do it for a living, but I just feel like that it's not as genuine as what we need.
Yeah, so I think my understanding is we're not going to hire a recruiter to find us candidates. We're going to kind of do that on our own, and we're going to get a citizen group to help us with interviews and whatever, but we're going to have some other company do the background checks and that kind of thing.
And Ed, where do you stand on this?
Yeah, go ahead. I'll wait for Jeff to finish.
I'm just saying, then in parallel, Wade can put out his RFP, because we still need someone to come in and do an audit of what we have and what we don't have and fill in the gaps and training and whatnot. So I see that thing, that RFP that Wade is proposing, which is excellent, by the way, but I see that as a separate column.
I don't mind the idea of an RFP going out to create, to line up a company that could assist the new town manager do this.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure that I want to engage formally engage a HR company until we secure who that town manager is, because they could easily have a great working relationship with somebody and help us get through that process, not so blindly.
Yeah.
But I want to hear what other people have to say about that too. I'm not locked in on that.
Yeah, I think probably there are two things that are woven together that have to come out as one. All right. And so I think the first piece, the one strand is the HR just looking at what are some things that we need to do as Wade is laid out in the RFP. I think those things, stand strong as they are. Then that next big piece is when the RFP goes out, and let's say you have a company that's coming in, not as a headhunter company, but as an HR consulting firm that's looking at processes, procedures, and saying, okay, here are some things that can be done to streamline. Here are some things that can increase your effectiveness and your efficiencies. And then if there's a way, if there's when you're recruiting for the town manager position, these are the places where we need to advertise those positions. All right. I think that because we do need to make sure that we're getting the word out that we have an opening and that we have a process that we use that's a fair process to hire the new town manager, and still getting in staff input and then input from the citizens to really make sure that those candidates have been vetted. So it's I think I have caution with headhunters, because sometimes the headhunters might already have their people, and it's that if you go out and you know that you got this commission, and if there's no clause, if the person doesn't work out, that you get a certain amount back in a certain period of time, they make their money and they're on to the next person. Where I think as a consultant firm knows that their is going to be part of their reputation, but they might be more vested because they're looking at the long-term relationship instead of the quick fix.
I like that in combination with a citizen group, because I think that we will cover the bases that we did not cover last time. And that was part of our inexperience. I mean, hey, it'd been 18 years since we'd hired a town manager. So that's, I think that could fill the holes with that kind of structure.
Bobby, Wade, what do you guys think?
I'm fine to fly however you guys want to fly.
So am I understanding correctly that what Jim is proposing and what we're talking about here is having Wade do an RFP for what we've been talking about, for like getting us some HR help and setting up a structure, but then also maybe a separate company that we try to hire, as soon as possible without an RFP to help us with the hiring a new town manager. Is that right?
I don't think it's going to be that long. So let's say we go ahead and place our ads ourselves, and we can contact Mainland Municipal League and all the regular. Bobby may have a list from what David Deutsch had done last time when he advertised. I'm not sure if you do or not, Bobby.
Yes, I do.
And use the same type of publications as you get it out there. That's going to take time. It's going to take time for you to do the citizens community committee and get them all lined up. Maybe at that time, which should still be a month and a half, depending on the publication deadlines, to get resumes to start coming in. The committee can start going through them. Hopefully by that time, we'll be looking at some HR people too. So it could come together.
I'm okay with all that working in parallel. And I think that, I said, time is of the essence. And if you think that the RFP process can be handled relatively quickly, as you're right, there's like some of these, our request for a new position, a town manager position. I mean, some of these are going to be regular print ads. So it doesn't churn overnight. So Martin, to answer your question, doesn't have to be, I'm comfortable with, as long as we know that we're going to cover all of our bases for creating the right town manager request, however that is, whether it's an advertisement, our package. If that can go out relatively quickly, I'm okay with running in parallel with an RFP for a HR company.
Yeah, as am I. I just don't want this to,
drag out.
2 months from now, we're talking about, okay, should we hire this company or that company? Like, I'd like to be farther along. I want
Yeah.
to just make progress, and I know everybody does. I know I'm not alone there. So who would we task with? I assume that any kind of a citizen advisory board we set up, something we'd interview for, so we all agree, and not just like you automatically get on it, obviously. So who would put that call out right now? Would that's something you would do, Bobby?
I can, yes.
Okay.
First, let's just write up like a 1-paragraph description.
Okay.
That so either Bobby, you can do it, or I can do it, but it would be basically that something you'd expect to see on Facebook.
Yep.
To push it out to the residents. But if this is the direction we're going, then we have time to do that. The main thing is, let's get that ad prepared for the town manager to solicit a town manager first, and then into all the right places. And Bobby, you said you do have that list.
Yes. And we can also use MML.
So can we go ahead?
What I say is going to need to come after what you say, Jim. Go ahead.
I just want to facilitate that creation of that ad, or that's the solicitation for new town manager, has to be created, vetted, and put out to all those places. We can do that. At the same time, an RFP is approved by us and to be distributed by Wade through the normal RFP process for an HR consultant that can both help us potentially vet out candidates, as well as if it determines that we establish some sort of working relationship with them, they may be able to carry on further with us as we figure out our restructuring.
Good. And my only question was that, am I understanding Wade correctly? That were you agreeing that, like, in your opinion, a staff assessment should be done before we actually hire a new town manager, so that we know kind of what we're looking for? Is that what you were saying, or am I misunderstanding you?
The wheels came off the wagon pretty quickly after I left with the new guy. And part of that because the policies weren't in place to protect staff and how to vet complaints, and things weren't in place. It didn't have to be before, but like Jeff said, those things are in place for when things do go wrong. And that's my only concern. We don't want that to happen again.
Yeah, but you're saying not just like but you're saying HR, like, so we get like HR policies in place, but also a staff assessment, meaning like, is there enough staff inside town hall? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, certainly that needs to be done also. But that can be done at the same time a manager's coming in, because that's fine. All stuff's going on when he's coming in. It's going to help him break right into the process. And you guys are going to have much more hands-on if you have something like this going on also, which I think is very important.
But you don't think it's advantageous to do it beforehand so that we know what we're looking for a town manager? Like, if somebody were to come in and say, it should, the job is probably 2 people and it should be divided this way or something like that?
No.
Okay.
No, definitely not. I don't think that matters.
Okay.
I think the impression I get is that we move these things parallel, then you bring on a strong town manager. Then that strong town manager could also say, this is where I've looked at everything. I've looked at the feedback from a private company, and that I would anticipate this town manager, whoever's hired, he or she is working with that HR firm to say, hey, what do you think about, because there has to be some give and take with that.
Right.
And then absolutely, that person really takes ownership of saying, these are my skill sets. This is what would help complement what I'm able to do. And so this is what we might be looking for in an assistant town manager.
That's what I exactly see.
Something
yes.
like that. Because
and a transition person with Bobby.
Right.
Yay.
Hey, you announced it. I didn't say.
I said yay.
Oh, I thought you said hey. So we don't keep kicking the can down the road.
Okay.
It sounds like, if I'm not mistaken, what we're looking at is do the things parallel, and that the third piece of that parallel is going to be putting out something to create a citizens advisory committee for this particular task. Because
I'm fine with that.
I think that would probably come together faster than the other pieces. And then that, because we do have some really talented people who've worked in HR for a long time right here in town, I've spoke to a couple as well, who said, hey, you let me know, I'm willing to help out. And just like we're volunteering, they would love to volunteer without such the long commitment of years and of 4 years.
Yeah, good. Sounds good to me.
Carrie, what do you think?
I'm in favor of us moving forward. I think we
Okay.
need a town manager, we need HR. And it sounds to me like Bobby and Wade have some direction now. Is there anything that we
Yeah, let me get some
vote on a year
clarification.
ago?
Let me get some clarification. So the RFP I've developed, obviously I need to tweak the recruitment aspect of it, that service request for the recruitment. Tame it down quite a bit where it's more of assistance, but are they going to help vet the resumes that come in, Jim? Or are you thinking that the committee is going to vet those? And then they would pick up afterwards and do backgrounds on, the chosen candidate. What's your thoughts there?
So I think the normal would be that the committee would potentially go over those in like a session, not just, one at a time, not piecemeal it. And then we would use the HR company to give us basically a one pager on each candidate, which would include a background check and reference check.
Okay.
I
want to make sure I spell it out perfectly.
Yeah.
Okay.
We as citizens don't need to do those actions. Now, maybe they're interpreted by us, right? Once they give us the materials, we're going to be interpreting those, but that's the way I see it happening.
Okay. And 5, you want to do 5? I think I put 3 in here. That was a placeholder.
Talking about people?
And no, as far as finalists.
Yeah, I thought that was a little limiting last time. I don't know about you. I guess
I did too, but I just put it in for a placeholder.
Yeah,
I
would. Do you think 7's unwieldy?
I think 7's a lot.
Okay.
I think 5 is a nice balance.
Okay.
Sorry, what are we talking about here? 7 what? 7 town manager applicants or 7 HR company applicants?
No. Go ahead, Wade. You can explain it.
Town manager final candidates.
Oh yeah, I think. Well, yeah, my 2 cents. I think 7 is too many.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna remind you.
I actually like more choices than less, but
yeah, I'm gonna remind you two of your decision on that.
Okay. Thank you, Jim. I'm sure.
Right.
Duly noted. No, that's fine.
Jeff and the rookies will come in and say we went with 5, and let's see how it goes.
Right. No, we're gonna get a great candidate, and I'm okay with 5 too. I just wanted to get some pushback and see what anybody else had to say.
So at this point, Bobby and Wade, is there anything that you need for us to make a decision on in order to do what you guys got to do?
No, as far as I'm concerned, we have marching orders.
So
Wade, you have full clarity, Wade, because we interrupted your clarity discussion.
Yeah.
No, that was perfect. You guys, I got it now.
Are you going to send out the RFP after you change?
We gotta make do we need to make a motion after you change or prior to that?
Neither. We're fine to go. The consensus is fine for this.
Yeah. It was only a minor change anyway from 3 to 5. Yeah.
Yeah. The direction was created by vote to just even create the RFP. So beyond that,
So
consensus.
Right.
great.
So I'll tweak this and we're going to send it out hopefully later this week.
Good.
I'll tell you, we'll get quickest turnaround as we can with it.
Hey,
And same thing with the job description we have what Jeff has. And I'm going to pull up, I would like to sit with Bobby and pull up the rest of the file that David had done previously with the advertising and everything where he went. So we could probably you paid for it, might as well use all that stuff.
Wait, the stuff I wrote, feel free to edit and change as much as you like.
Okay. All right. I just want to get it out on the street and see what we get back.
Is there
Yeah.
going to be a final draft on that, or is that I'm okay with what you two work out, and I'm with putting it out. I just want to make sure that everybody else is comfortable that is what's going to go out.
It would be nice to see a final.
final draft.
You
On
wanna do
both,
that, Wade? You want to do
Yeah,
that, Wade, or should I?
go ahead and send it out. Did anybody have any comments before?
Yes, there were a couple and I incorporated them into the document.
Okay, that's what I thought. So
So
Okay,
just
I'll just send the email again. Same email. Yep.
Okay, great, thank you.
Well, thank you.
All right, great.
Okay.
Now we're on to your report, Bobby.
Okay. We had tree fall down at well 6 Friday night. Police tree service came in and took it down, and Capitol Fence went and put the fence back up today.
Did you do an RFP for those two?
Yes. I went out and ran down and said, Lee, sign this.
Okay,
All
good
the
enough.
employees
Thank you.
except for 4 have been vaccinated and they don't want to do it. So I can't make them.
Say that again?
We have all but 4 employees that are vaccinated for COVID. They do not want to do it. Can't do anything about it except for they have to wear masks.
Okay, so maybe that's something we need to discuss in terms of HR
We can't make them.
protocols.
We can't make them to get them. So,
Well, I guess that's a question that I have for.
Yeah, a lot of companies are. I just thought on the news they're
Yeah,
making it mandatory for an up determination if they don't. I mean, I don't think we want to go that route, but I did see that.
okay. The website is being updated. We used to have Civic Plus, and then we got into WordPress and Civic Plus last year. We're going back to Civic Plus only.
Great.
The Gmail, there has been billing issues. They said we hadn't paid them since 2013, which we don't have a bill. What'd you do with it, Wade? Anyway, that has been straightened out, and we will pay by credit card once a month. So they won't suspend our account anymore. Martin, on the historic signs, where you voted for no more than $5,000. And there was supposed to be a grant. I talked to Sarah Rogers at Heritage Montgomery. She said that there was a letter of intent, but a grant was never requested, and we can't do it until January 22.
So if we were to get the signs now
It costs us at least $8,000.
and apply for the grant later, is that possible?
We can do that, yes.
Well, that's something we should discuss. I still think that's a good idea.
Okay.
It's
I'll
something-
get you prices.
Okay, and we can that be a item on the agenda for the next meeting?
Uh-huh.
yeah, let's agendize that for next time, Bobby, because I agree that's.
Just for Ed and Jeff's sake, and I think Jim, you probably picked up on it, but we voted some time ago to get signs that in the historic part of Poolsville that said like historic Poolsville or whatever, the designation sign. A lot of towns have them. Just something to sort of like bolster tourism and emphasize our historical assets. And I guess that's something that I thought Seth was working on. Apparently, I don't know what happened, but anyway.
Okay, and then we received a grant from Maryland Smart Energy for $40,000. The town requested 95. I called Mr. Cunningham to see why the amount was so much different. He didn't call me back today. That's supposed to be used for streetlights, canopy over electric chargers, and electric vehicle. So we'll have to bring that up again too.
Okay.
And then the appropriation committee, we were not turned in for the 10 projects that he could. We submitted for 3 grants and we didn't get picked.
So did we know ahead of time that it was only going to be 10?
Yes.
Yeah, we knew.
And how much trouble did we go to prepare that whole that seemed like a lot of mobilization under a very fast time frame for what has historically been. I mean, I can't remember us ever getting a grant through that process.
It was a lot of work because of the time limit.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. And that's everybody, right? You, that was you, Wade, Jay, John Strong. Did we not touch anybody in terms of us having to pay somebody to put this together?
No, we did it.
Okay. Any idea how much that was? I mean, I don't even want to hear the number.
About $6,000.
Okay. $6K for a big strikeout.
Right.
Okay.
Well, I appreciate the work that you all put into it. I know that it's a lot of extra work, and And it, I mean, I'm not a grant writer myself, but I certainly know that it's a real talent, being able to write those. And, I don't know, maybe it's another plug for us hiring a grant writer in the future. Having someone on staff that, that is their expertise. But I do appreciate everyone's time and effort on that.
That's all I have.
Hey,
Thanks for
Bobby,
the report, Bobby. That's helpful.
quick question, Bobby. If there was a change in terms of the county's COVID restrictions, is it too late to be able to offer that summer camp for the kids that the town typically, that we had to cancel?
Okay, that's another whole page.
Yeah. I know I talked to parents with kids who really are hoping that something like that would be available.
Right now, Kathy and I went through all the regulations where Montgomery County is now. You can't have more than 100 people. You have to clean all the spaces daily with EPA approved spray. Employees have to wash their hands every hour. For the camp, you must maintain records of temperature checks and have a questionnaire. Are you coughing? Do you have a sore throat? Whatever. You have to social distance. You have to have a cough and sneeze. You have to have a place where they can wash their cloth face coverings at lunchtime. You have to avoid the use any equipment that's not easily clean, like tennis rackets, balls. I mean, we'd have to have Clorox wipes and everything else every time somebody touched a ball. You have to have hand soap, tissues, alcohol-based hand sanitizers. The director and assistant director have already gotten other jobs.
Oh,
We have to hire at least 10 counselors. That means we would only be able to take 80, 85 campers. How do you cut it off? When Johnny and Joey live next door and they're not enrolled, but they want to play. So, and we couldn't go to the pool. It wouldn't be a weekly trip to the pool.
Can you talk a little bit about the costs associated too?
It'll be about $52,500. And that's payroll, Social Security, workman's comp, and the few things that we do for them. But it's going to go up because of all the cleaning materials we have to have.
Yeah, the number you just said is the number if things were normal, right? Like in a
Yes.
normal year. Yeah. So that sounds.
And I don't know how you can cut it off at, 80 kids.
And if I'm understanding correctly, the town already doesn't make any money on this. In fact, we invest a lot of money in it.
It would be $600 a kid if we could only have 80 kids.
Heavily subsidized.
oh,
Yeah.
wow.
How many kids do we usually have?
178
178.
was the last year we had.
Mhm.
Wow.
Now, I mean, things could still change, I guess, in terms of the restrictions, but it's a time issue now, right? Because if we're going to
When do we
do
need to
it, we'd
mobilize?
have to be
Time and
hiring staff
personnel.
now.
Yeah.
We don't have a, like I said, we don't have a director or assistant director. We'd be starting new.
Right.
Oh,
I mean, it could change, it could be opened, but that might not be till June 1st. And
Right.
would start June
I've been following this closely, and the county put out new regulations, was actually just very, very recent. So the county is now just making the opening or loosening the restrictions based on the percentage of the population in Montgomery County who have received at least one vaccination. Right now, as of May the 3rd, as of today, I think, when I saw the figures, we're at 50.5% of the population has had at least one vaccination, which is excellent. And the next tier is when we reach 60% of the population that has at least one vaccination. Then it changes to no outdoor limits. So that might happen in a week. It might not happen in a week.
Yeah,
That's just, we have to just see how the timing goes.
we have to let the people know. Nobody has asked about if we're opening it since we told them on March 1st, we weren't sure. It didn't look like it.
Well, I saw several posts on Facebook. They're asking about it. Yeah.
Bobby, I appreciate it. I know I opened up a can of worms, but I appreciate the update.
We need, you all need to make a decision so we can, see what, we got to get rolling on it if we're gonna do it. If you even think we're gonna do it.
When does it usually start?
It'll start June 21st.
Oh, it'll start in June. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
I guess just a thought about it then. If what scenario would be what we would need in order to do it? And I guess I'm asking under what type of restrictions being lifted would it help us to say, okay, it's feasible to go ahead and move forward?
When Montgomery County reaches 60%, it's unlimited outdoors. Right now, we're at 50.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So-
Right,
Who
right.
knows when it's gonna happen? Could happen next week, could happen June 1st.
Yeah, it could, because it took us several months to get to this point. But now there are many vaccination sites that are open, whereas 2 months ago, there were only a few and it was difficult to get an appointment.
I guess what I'm
But
looking
now
at
actually
is,
Montgomery County at the mass vaccination site where I am frequently, we're going to open up to, I don't know if it's Monday or today or tomorrow, it opens up to walk-ins, right? So you don't have to have an appointment. You don't have to have you don't have to have an appointment to get a vaccination, but you have to make an appointment on site, that kind of thing. So
Do we have, Bobby, do we have enough time to wait 2 weeks to see how far we've gotten in that 2 weeks?
That's all we have is 2 weeks.
Okay. Why don't we revisit this next time, see what the vaccination numbers look like? If they haven't improved significantly, I think the writing, unfortunately, is probably on the wall.
Okay.
Ed, does that sound good to you too? Is that kind of what you're suggesting?
yeah,
is we sort of
because
make our
what I'm
decision
looking
then?
at, yeah, because what I was just thinking about is that even if you had unlimited outside, do you still have all those other restrictions, like clean the balls, clean the rackets,
Yep.
and not being able to use the pool? So I think,
Yep.
I guess we see where we are in 2 weeks and then see, is there any forecast for an improvement? But I do get it also that there's a lot of planning that goes in before you actually launch.
Just not having two directors right now is the biggest handicap.
Right.
Yeah.
yeah,
So, all right. Well, thank you,
All
Bob.
right, well, let's revisit it in 2 weeks then. And maybe we'll be scrambling to make it happen.
Is that everything?
That's it.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
I second that motion.
All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
hi.
Motion carries. We're adjourned.
Have a good night,
Take care,
everybody.
everybody.
Thanks,
Thank you, everyone.
Wade. Thanks,
Thank you.
Bobby.
Good night.
Good night.